and it's episode 87 of the Red Leaf Retrocast. We're talking retro games here today. It's the theme sci-fi horror games. Your host JD. Colin, it was your theme pick. How do you feel about this?
Yes, it was. It seemed like a cool topic to cover. I mean, there's one specific game I wanted to get an excuse to look at because it's been on my list for a long time. I thought it'd be fun to talk about another game I've played that's along similar lines, and I also wanted to see what you guys could come up with for other games of the sort.
4 out of 5 of the games that we picked for this theme I have never played before, and they've been on my kind of to-do list for quite some time. So the benefits of the podcast does wonders for knocking things off
sure.
my at least to try list. Very excited.
Yeah.
Joey, the voice that you haven't heard today. So this dude texts me at 3 a.m, Colin, with the following message. Dude,
yes.
I'm out for tomorrow. Got 2.5 MILS to walk till I'm home. Till So I can only assume by this message he was absolutely trashed out of his mind and he had to walk home.
Oh no.
So Godspeed. I hope he's okay. It's been
we raise a glass in your honor, brother.
It's been a wild couple weeks. I got back from vacation. This comes out after the anime cast, so I already went through a little bit, but for you, Colin, I'll just do a basic little repeat here. Finally got to go snowboarding. Got a raise at work. Life is good.
Nice.
Had a good weekend playing all these games, and a good week for a couple of the ones I was able to play on my Vita and Game Boy Advance. Ooh, little teaser there to how I got to play a lot of these games. Colin, where can we find the podcast? We should do these things called plugs every once in a while. Wouldn't you agree?
Perhaps. I mean, even I can't really fully remember where all of them are, but I'll try my best. There's Stitcher, there's iTunes, there's Spotify, iHeartRadio, and the main website, redleafretrocast.blogspot.com.
That's right, and that'll give you links to the Anchor place where Anchor supplies all of the episodes. We are on Amazon Prime Music now, so you could talk to your little Alexa and say, "Hey, play Red Leaf Retrocast," and that shit will come up. It's awesome. Still waiting on the approval from Pandora, so you can also listen to the podcast there. There is no outlet outside of SoundCloud that you can find this sucker. Of course, we have our official Twitter and Instagram. Just type in Red Leaf Retrocast. Our asses will come up. My Twitter handle is @BowlingJD. That is the official Red Leaf Retrocast Twitter. So those are all of the plugs. Of course, I have to be selfish, Colin. Do forgive me. Started a Patreon over a lot of historical wrestling content. Haven't put out any gaming or anime content for the extra out there yet, but if you are a wrestling fan, it will behoove you to sign up.
You grifter.
I've been really into trying to put in very, very old and out of dated words and insults like Buster and Pal and what's some other and
you ragamuffin,
whippersnapper. Lots of fun doing that.
Hell yeah!
So there was a Steam sale, Colin. What did you buy?
I bought maybe 3 games. There was Black Mesa, which is the fan remake of Half-Life. I haven't tried it yet, but I've seen some video footage of it, and it looks pretty impressive. And I got another one called Damsel, which is a vampire hunting game, just like a side-scrolling platformer shooter type thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have the feeling the main character's name is a subtle reference to Vampire Hunter D.
Could be.
Yeah, I mean, you're killing vampires after all. And yes, you do rescue hostages. But one that I've really been playing the shit out of is One Finger Death Punch.
Ah, I am familiar with this. Never played it myself, but I've watched the Let's Play or two.
It is addicting as hell. And it's even more badass than the title makes it sound. For those of us unfamiliar in the audience, you play as a stickman fighting other stickmen on a 2D plane with some of the coolest martial arts moves you've ever seen, but you only use the mouse buttons. Left mouse button, you attack left. Right mouse button, attack right. Just click each button when an enemy is in range, and the game will make the stickman hit him. Sometimes doing something extra cool, like slowing time and zooming in with an X-ray of the enemy, showing your character shattering the enemy's bones, similar to Mortal Kombat. Very simple concept, but executed extremely well. Of course, there is some strategy involved. Some enemies require more hits than others, so it's sometimes a good idea to kill an enemy with, say, a bow and arrow, so you can take it from them, since an arrow will do an instant kill on every enemy. And when you see the multi-hit enemy, hit him with the arrow so you don't have to go through this big ol' Stepmania DDR type thing just to take him out. And some enemies behave such that when you attack in their direction, they'll dodge towards the other side of you, and then you have to click the other button to be able to hit them. But it's super fun. You feel really badass playing it, even though all you're doing is clicking mouse buttons. And I recommend it. Highly recommend it.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to be really into that game. No doubt. No doubt.
Yeah. And speaking of badass games, I beat the Doom Eternal DLC.
Oh, it finally happened, did it?
Yep. I finally beat that one optional arena battle with the 3 Archviles, 3 Bloodmakers, and 2 Marauders. One of which was powered up by a spirit. It took a lot of tries, but I fucking slaughtered those motherfuckers.
Fucking
Go me!
slaughtered.
Yes,
good.
This game makes me cuss.
Good. It's a high octane type game, isn't it?
Absolutely. And once I'm done with the next game I'm going to mention, on to Control.
I'm a fan of that game. Starts slow, pays off though. Probably said that every time the game's mentioned. Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't play further into it when the Modern Gamecast was around and we did our kind of top 15 games of the year. But to be fair, it did make my personal top 15 that year. Just the co-host was not a fan of it because of the way the story started, so it didn't even crack his list, therefore it kind of got kicked off when it was all said and done. Such a shame. Such a shame.
Too bad.
Yeah, they all can't make it, right?
Yeah, for sure. But I also been playing further into Cosmic Star Heroine. I just can't seem to catch that dragon.
Never can. Never can. You can only kill it.
Yeah. It's so far it's still pretty good. It's very linear. It's like you're very much on a set path, and there's no random encounters. When you encounter an enemy on screen, once they're dead, they're dead. They don't respawn. So got to be sure to take all of them out so you can be fully prepared for each boss. But I think I'm about halfway through. I'm about 4 or 5 hours in. Once I'm done with that, then I'll start up on Control.
Yeah, I gotta finish up the games that I've been picking away at. This theme in particular, a lot of the games were pretty long, so that took up a lot of my time. But I did make a couple purchases recently due to certain birthday coupons making games like 30% off, and a certain GameStop store near me that was closing down. So I was able to snag myself a copy of Hitman 3 for a nice little discounted price there. Big fan of the Hitman series.
Nice.
And I was also able to snag a used copy of Dragon Quest XI S on the Nintendo Switch.
Ooh.
I have wanted DQ11 specifically on the Switch, since basically this game was announced and I believe it took over a year for it to even get to the Switch.
Huh.
And then, of course, because of the Switch prices, it comes out at full price. And I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can, because I keep seeing the PS4 copy, like $30. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I can just, well, thankfully, because this GameStop is closing down and used copies were 40% off, I was like, that one's mine. Had a good one. I was just checking out the store that's next to it, got a bottle of bourbon for the weekend. It's like, I'm going to go in this GameStop that's closing down. Lucky me.
Oh no.
So spent some money there. Can't wait to play those. But I should just list off some of the games I gotta finish first. I gotta finish Sense, a Cyberpunk story.
Yeah, I have to get back to that one too.
I feel like I'm halfway through the game, and I really want to see how it plays out. Like I said before, it's not the best made game in the world, but I really like the environment, the kind of Ghost in the Shell-esque aura that the game has. There is some legit spooky moments that I have with it's got this weird kind of Chinese not inspired, that's not the right word.
Aesthetic?
No, it uses Chinese kind of folklore in life after death, and that's its kind of appeal. So it's something different, and yeah, I gotta finish that. Danganronpa, still chipping away at that. Still chipping away at that, Just haven't really picked it up in a few weeks here.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, then I was playing Phoenix Wright this morning. I think I'm halfway through Chapter 3. That whole Steel Samurai thing, it just feels like filler. It's pretty rough.
Yeah, it really is. Although I do love the whole pun with the old lady's name, Wendy Oldbag.
yeah, and they have trouble kind of saying it. I mean, the humor is definitely there. I'm still kind of chuckling every now and again, but it definitely doesn't have the same appeal that the first two chapters had, and that's what I was able to cover on the podcast when we played it for the theme of that one.
Well, Case 4 more than makes up for it.
Yeah, I can't wait. I definitely want to at least finish this Phoenix Wright game, Danganronpa. So yeah, I gotta finish these just lists of games, and then I'm not sure if I want to dive straight into Dragon Quest XI. Bravely Default 2 just came out. I kind of want to get my hands on that, but with all these RPGs and stuff, and I think I might just hold off on purchasing that game, and since I won't be able to put as many hours into it as I would like, being that I'm a fan of. I was more of a fan of Bravely Second than I was of Bravely Default. So we'll see what this particular sequel has in store. I've heard mixed reviews over the game.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think that kind of covers it. We do have some news to go over, Colin. Some nice little gaming announcements. Nintendo had a direct. PlayStation had their State of Play. Some interesting announcements, some confirmed announcements. Still, PlayStation 5 still having a lot of trouble, keeping the bots away. Newegg is kind of invoking this kind of random draw system on their site to kind of prevent bots from getting it. So you just get you get an email or notification that says you've been randomly picked to be able to purchase this Xbox or PS5, and you have 3 hours within that notification to go through with the purchase. So, unfortunately, I mean, what other way is there to go around it without these companies throwing them physically in stores at this point? Which I don't know why they just don't go ahead and do that.
Yeah, really.
I mean, let's be honest. Outside of, particular countries in Europe, people have kind of punted this COVID thing. It's going down because of the vaccine, and I mean, everything's trending down, right? But it's not like
I wish
stores.
We could say the same about Canada.
Well,
it seems like the rollout's gotten pretty. They've bungled it a bit.
Yeah, at least from what I've been able to see here in my neck of the woods. It's. I mean, stores are open. People are buying shit.
Yeah, they've reopened in-store shopping for a bunch of places here too. There was a really funny meme that my mom showed me about Canada's vaccine rollout. It shows this bottle of the vaccine, and then it says vaccine rollout, similar to roll up the rim to win at Tim Hortons.
Oh.
and then and then the person has actually rolled up the rim, and it says try again.
Right, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's a European version of the vaccine. I forget what the company's called, but even it's definitely under a lot of questions because Angela Merkel, the she's the chancellor of Germany. If you don't remember, they asked her, "Are you going to take it?" And she goes, "No."
Oh man!
And when they asked her why, it's because she's over 65 and she's 66 or something, and the vaccine is tested for, or I forget how they worded it, but basically it has you have to be 65 or under in order to take it. So she's like, no, I'm not taking it because I'm 66. Like, that sounds like copping out. So Germans are they're very much questioning what's going on with this. So anyways, back to video games. Enough of this virus talk. Yeah, so I'll just go through this. Kind of cool. I always like these things, directs, state of plays. They're very simple, get you kind of hyped for games coming out. Little announcements. Final Fantasy VII Remake is having a DLC called Integrade. It has Sophie making an appearance.
Who's that?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not up on my Final Fantasy VII remembrance because I've never really played past a certain point of the game. So, but
I've seen a lot of Final Fantasy related stuff, and I've never heard of a character named Sophie.
Yeah, I'm not familiar myself, but I'm excited nonetheless. The issue, Colin, is that it's a DLC only for PS5.
Ah,
yeah,
that's baloney.
Yeah, so luckily, if you have Final Fantasy VII, it will get that free upgrade from the PS4 version on the PS5. So there you go. I mean, what else is there to say, right? Hopefully they can get their shit together.
Yeah.
Kenna Bridge of Spirits got a release date, August 24th. I'm excited for this game. It looks very cute. Looks like a kind of a platform action game right up my alley. It will have a PS4 copy, but it's just one of those games. I find myself, if I see a good deal on a PS5 game, I'm just getting the PS5 collection ready. So that time when I have a PS5 at whatever time that is, I will have a good collection of games that I could just dive 100% into.
Yeah.
At least that's exciting. Like, I haven't spent over $30 on a PS5 game yet. So that's very exciting for me. So, in a weird way, it's almost great because then because I won't be compelled to buy the game on release like I usually do. I'll be able to wait, 1, 2, 3, maybe even 6 months, and the game's, half off by that time, or there's some deal that allows that.
Okay.
Returnal. This game looks kick-ass, Colin.
Oh, yeah. I remember that from the PS5 announcement.
Yeah, you want to talk about sci-fi horror? This is excellent. It's like a roguelike action, high-octane action game. The weapons look super fun. I was not expecting the speed of the gameplay to be to what it was. If you haven't seen the trailer for Returnal, woman crashes down on an alien planet, and when she dies, goes full Groundhog Day on her ass, and enemies and bosses are all in different sectors, so it's definitely really cool. It has this weird, like, alien-esque upgrade system, it looks like. I'm all about this game. I hope it does well. They've delayed it till April 30th. For release date, but I'm pretty sure it was originally supposed to be in March coming out or whatever. So this game looks really cool. I hope it does well, as opposed to the Medium, which did not do well.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That was disappointing. Oddworld Soulstorm is coming to PS5. what is interesting is this will be released on PlayStation Plus in April for PS5.
Ah,
Yeah, that's the
interesting.
yeah. So it comes out April 6th. Another Oddworld game. Sign me up. It's another one. I hope it does well. I hope it comes out. I kind of got my feel for what kind of game I want and what I expect of it performance wise. And I've kind of like Metacritic reviews. If it gets an 83 or higher, let's just put the number there. I'm pretty confident that if I'm into the game, that's kind of the minimum kind of overall score that I can confidently just say I'm buying this game. If it gets below that, especially in the let's say 75 to 82 range, I'm questioning performance, because then that's when it starts affecting my opinion of how much fun I'm starting to have and how deep the game is. Feel me?
Ah, yeah. Yep, I feel you.
Yeah. And then usually if it gets below that 75 mark, I'm generally just not going to like the game, because it's just, there's something so wrong with it that I do find myself having issues with these games. Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah, they just don't quite grab you.
Right, exactly. Even more bland, maybe broken in too many sectors. Obviously, something's wrong with it for it to get a overall score like that. I'm using these things as guidelines, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're 30 somethings. We don't have a lot of time in our day to invest in games that aren't worth it.
30 somethings. I am 33 now, thank you.
So am I. So there.
Crash Bandicoot 4 is getting a PS5 upgrade. Good for that. There's a dodgeball game. Absolver developer has Slow Clap. I'm sorry. Absolver is having a game coming out. Some kung fu game. Hyper Light Drifter developer is coming out with another game. No thoughts on that yet. Five Nights at Freddy's, Deathloop, etc., etc. So that's it from Sony. Not a bad little state of play. Kind of keeps us up on the up and up. Two games that I'm very much keeping tabs on. Got release dates, so I'm excited there. No Ratchet and Clank and no Horizon Zero Dawn 2 were the kind of question marks there, but hey.
Not too bad.
That's too bad. Can't reveal everything at once, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo had two directs, okay? One was a straight-up direct, and the other was a Pokemon direct. Have you heard of this Pokemon?
I don't know. That sounds weird.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd like it.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's got these like wacky monsters. I don't know. Pokemon Snap's coming out.
It'll never last more than a year.
Yeah. Yeah. New Pokemon Snaps coming out. That kind of speaks for itself. They're doing remakes of Diamond and Pearl, kind of in the whole upgraded graphics of Sword and Shield. That's what it comes off as to me. Fine. Do what you need there. The real news is an open world Pokemon game is coming out, and it's called Legends Arceus, Archaic. I don't know how do you pronounce it.
I've always said tomato. Oh, but Arceus is correct, and every other thing is wrong.
Can I call it Archaic until I actually see the gameplay?
I suppose that's acceptable.
Yeah, it's coming out early 2022. We'll see if they stick to that. But an open world Pokemon game, that should get a lot of people hyped, especially for kind of lapsed Pokemon fans that have wanted a new style game for quite some time.
Yeah, I mean, I've been lapsed since Yellow, so doesn't make much of a difference to me, but still interesting to see where the series goes after all this time. I mean, the popularity lasting as long as it has is a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah, it's definitely quite something. We got a new to the Nintendo Direct. They're still pumping out new Smash characters for DLC, so at least keeping you up on that. Splatoon 3 got an announcement for 2022. I'm not sure how I feel about another Splatoon game. It weirdly feels too soon.
Yeah, I mean, you'd think they'd save it for something like a new console or something.
Well, I guess a new version of the Switch is coming out, and I guess that would be kind of something to bundle it with. I'm not yeah,
Maybe.
I'm really 50-50 on it cuz I mean, don't get me wrong, I put in my time into Splatoon and Splatoon 2. I just hope that I'll tell you what, Colin. If Splatoon
Yes.
3 has couch co-op options in it, I'm all in.
Yeah, me too.
I'm definitely all in. I think that's definitely a direction it needs to go. Because I mean, if Mario, let's face it, if Mario Kart can do it, I think Splatoon should be able to do it too. And there's no reason it can't also have the online capabilities.
Yeah, I mean, the Switch was basically built for that sort of thing.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I'm weirdly into the story modes that the Splatoon games pump out. I know I get a kick out of them. I definitely play those kind of twice over. Sometimes the boss fights are fun. But if they're gonna come out with another sequel to the game, I'm gonna need couch co-op for sure. Now,
Absolutely.
yeah, with the state of the world, maybe that's not necessary, but hopefully by 2022 it will be.
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise got a new trailer. We'll see if we'll see how that one does. If it I got into the Monster Hunter kind of lore and universe and gameplay with World, which is exactly what I was hoping for. And Rise seems to be more of a story oriented Monster Hunter game. Hopefully it does well and it'll pique my interest.
Cool.
Yeah. Fall Guys coming, Outer Wilds coming. Fanicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir. You know me, Colin. I've been really into these murder mystery games.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're coming out with kind of 2 English dub releases on Switch May 14th. I wrote these 2 games down. I want to know how. I mean, I'm not asking for much these days when it comes to murder mysteries. It's like, just give me a story and I'll fucking play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that does. Animal Crossing's getting Mario themed type stuff like warp pipes and whatnot. So, but the big news that I paid attention to, Colin, Project Triangle Strategy from Square Enix. It is another Octopath Traveler type game.
Ooh.
It's going to be released in 2022, so I'm very happy they announced it. I need this game in my life already, so there's that. You can actually download a demo right now if you're into it. So,
Oh, nice.
Legend of Mana's getting a kind of upgraded release. Mario Golf Super Rush is coming out. And then No More Heroes 3 got a release date, August 27th. So that's cool. I'm all about No More Heroes 3. Never played the second one. I have the first one on Wii. And World's End Club from creators of Danganronpa and Zero Escape is coming out.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if that showed up.
It did. Isn't
with
that
Kotaro Uchikoshi on the stat?
Yeah, isn't that a mobile game?
It was, but it's coming to the Switch in full version. I think that mobile game was like a demo of sorts, but this will be like the full game for the Switch.
I'm sure that's one that piqued your interest. It piqued my interest with whom is involved in it, but as soon as I was told it was a mobile game, I was very standoff about it. But if what you say is true, is it was only a demo and this is a full game, then I think I'm back interested.
Yeah, it's supposed to come out end of May this year.
Yeah, May 28th is the release date. So lots of good things coming out from Sony and Nintendo. They're plugging away, chugging away. And I tried looking up news for Xbox to see if they're doing anything, but it's just Game Pass and that's it. Not really anything buzzworthy coming from Xbox. So not something I was. Look, I have made it no secret that I am not an Xbox guy, but I want competition. I definitely want it. And if Xbox isn't kind of bringing the heat in this new generation, I'm getting a little worried already that they're going to fall behind.
Yeah, I mean, if there's no competition, then there's no push for the other companies to do the best they can. And we'll wind up with a bunch more bland, mediocre games.
Right.
or an interface with the systems that gets no significant updates. Still waiting for Sony to improve their wish list system.
What do you mean?
Well, the fact is, with wish lists, you can only access them from your computer. You can only go onto the site to add things to your wish list, but you don't see it at all on your PS4.
Well, I have an app on my phone that I can access it, so that's how I kind of check up on it every now and again, and I get notifications of sales and stuff. So
yeah, but it's still way more inconvenient than it should be. I mean, Nintendo got it right with their Switch or eShop wish list system.
There's still a lot about the UI interface of the Switch, and a lot of bells and whistles that it's just super missing. Backgrounds would be nice.
Yeah. Oh well. Maybe the Switch Pro will have that.
I don't know why the current one couldn't have that.
Yeah, I mean, it's been like 4 years, so...
Yeah. Man, it's already been that long with the Switch. It still feels very new, which is quite nice.
Yeah.
I'm definitely very satisfied with the Nintendo Switch as a console. Very satisfied.
Absolutely.
Colin, it's been like 31 minutes. We went through some directs. How about we just get on to our awesome theme?
Sounds good to me.
Colin, it's your theme pick. Why don't you run us through it? Why, what, where, how, the whole shenanigans that you put upon us.
Well, like I said, this seemed like a fun topic to cover, since there are a fair few games out there that fall under this genre. One in particular that I really like, or have really wanted to get into, because it's the precursor to a few other games that I really like, or at least 2 of them, one of which I haven't played. But there's also another game that I really like playing. I kept considering for other themes in the past, but ultimately hadn't pulled the trigger on until now. And like I said, I wanted to see what you guys could come up with, and I think for the other 3 games, one of them, at the very least, was adequate. The other 2, well, no, 2 of them were adequate. The other one, well, you'll see. And thing is, for this theme, we've got a lot of first-person shooters.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, we yeah. And you know my feelings over FPS games. Not my favorite genre, but I do. If a first-person shooter is going to draw me in, it is definitely a sci-fi type setting that will get me. So the question is, Colin, did it do its job?
We shall soon find out. We'll start off with System Shock 2 on the PC. Although I hear it was also on the Dreamcast.
Yeah, okay, sure.
It was developed by Sorry?
GOG is how I was able to play this game.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So, it was developed by Irrational Games and Looking Glass Studios, who are also known for the original Thief series, and published by EA. Released on the PC in North America on August 11th, 1999, and later on OS X and Linux in 2003 and 2014, 2013 and 2014, respectively. Now, you play as a space soldier in year 2114 who was woken up from cryosleep on a spaceship that has been overrun by a parasitic organism that turns people into zombies. Think Dead Space meets The Last of Us, but with space worms instead of fungus. And along the way, you encounter the omnipresent AI called Shodan, who served as the main villain in the previous game and is the same in this game. And if you ever wanted to know what led up to BioShock being made, here you go. I mean, you got psionics instead of plasmids, hacking computers instead of turret pipes, hybrids instead of splicers. but they're still creepy. Even creepier, they seem to have some of their old selves still in there as you attack them. They'll say, "Kill me!" And they all seem to have been integrated into some kind of hive mind that the space worms are part of. They all seem to have access to a big swath of knowledge in a centralized thing that I didn't quite get far enough to see where it is, although you do get a cutscene early on of what looks like the core of the whole thing.
How long did you play into this game?
If you don't count all the times I died, about 5 hours.
Okay. So I got 3.5 hours into the game, and the lore of it all is super interesting and cool, as you just laid out of what the game's about. The problem was, so it's first person, and you have a wrench, like, the entire time.
Yeah, it's the same in BioShock.
Yeah, I mean, you do get weapons and stuff eventually, and BioShock picks up. You played it basically an hour and a half longer than me. How much did it pick up at that point?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I got to a section called the hydroponics deck, where there's like this, you're supposed to get to the deck above it, but it's been blocked by this big biomass, so you gotta go around the deck trying to find a bunch of stuff to put into the environmental ventilator type thing in order to kill it, so you can go up. But yeah, there's up to that point, there's a lot of backtracking in the game, and that didn't really sit well with me. Plus, all the environments look very samey, so it was hard to know where everything was, even if you were looking at the map. And the weapon degradation really didn't sit well with me. The weapons broke down so quickly, and at the worst possible times. Hence why I died a lot.
Yeah, I died quite a few times as well. I get, like, okay, I was trying to put myself in the mindset of 1999, right? And
yeah,
if I was playing this then, I can pretty confidently say that I think I would love this game, right? Because it was very much unlike anything of its time. It had a good sense of aura about it. Very unique interface system with inventory and picking up items and finding them and going about this wasteland of a spaceship that's been infested. All cool. However, playing this in 2021 here, I found myself with that sense of I'm not progressing. I'm running around in circles. Everything looks the same. And the combat system is so archaic. Like, the hit detection and swinging at these worm zombie guys. The sound effects weren't there. My God, you want to talk about a game that needs a heavy update to it and remaster to fill in. You know what? It's the notes and the music, right? The notes and the music have faded over time, and you just don't get that same feeling. This sucks. I was hyped for this game, and I'm just playing it. I'm going down these hallways. The computer interface. What's the name of her again?
Shodan.
Shodan's not really talking to me. Nothing's happening.
Yeah, up to that point, you're only talking to this thing called Xerxes.
That's what
I can only imagine Shodan's using that as a front,
right,
before revealing herself later.
I think
I hear she was supposed to be some kind of, at least a partial inspiration for GLaDOS in Portal.
Right, yeah. Oh, no, absolutely. Like, you would definitely see where so many games were inspired and took elements from System Shock 2 specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that this has its mark on history. But Colin, I just can't get past the fact that I was bored. I was
Yeah,
so
just
bored.
yeah, it didn't really catch my fancy that well either. I mean, sure, once I got a few upgrades to like my weapon maintenance and research and all that kind of stuff, I felt a little more into it, but not enough to really go in for the long haul.
So here's the thing. I'm looking up how long the game goes, okay? Main plus
Yeah,
extra, how long to beat.com, 18 hours. So you, Colin, are about a third of the way through the game, give or take, and you're
yeah.
still not 100% into it, or even like percentage into it. What would be a number you'd kind of throw out there?
Uh, about 30%, I'd say.
Well, I'm saying when I say into it, like I am going to,
Oh,
I feel the need to play this game and continue, like that kind of into it.
oh yeah. I'd probably say maybe 40%. I mean, I'd be willing to continue through it just to see like where all the hype came from and what kind of inspiration it had on other games. But is it something I'd really go out of my way to play, like look forward to playing after work? I don't think so.
Yeah, that's the big problem. Like I'm looking at screenshots of kind of things that happen later in the game, and I really am laughing at the inventory system that takes up so much real estate at the top of your screen.
Yeah, yeah.
It's pretty absurd how that is. I like the bottom UI interface where it shows your health and armor and whatnot, and that's all cool. But the inventory at the top, just it's a mess. It's all like
Yeah.
it's almost like you're playing something closer to a Skyrim where everything's on the screen at once.
Yeah, it reminded me of Resident Evil.
Oh yeah, imagine if the Resident Evil kind of inventory space was always on the screen.
Yeah. And the thing is, there's a bunch of different kinds of ammo for your weapons, which tends to take up a lot of space. I mean, you got regular rounds, anti-personnel rounds for the organic enemies, armor-piercing rounds for like gun turrets and such. But yeah, your weapons take up 3 slots each. I mean, sure, I can see what the game is trying to do. It's trying to make you be frugal with your guns and ammo,
Right.
especially since you can't entirely rely on guns the entire time. That's why the wrench is always there. But got to be careful with how much ammo you use on certain enemies. And I admit, while they look really blocky, the enemy designs can be pretty unique. Like the chimps with psionic abilities firing energy blasts at you, or the
Yeah, psychic monkeys just man, they were
yeah,
I've like when I first came across them, the hit detection is so poor that I was like, I am hitting them, but the game is saying I'm not. This is so aggravating.
yeah, and the cyborg handmaids, or no, midwives.
Oh, right.
They'll say stuff like, "Oh, they grow up so fast," in this really janky robotic voice.
Right, yeah.
And then if you're too far away from them, they'll fire lasers at you. If you're close to them, they'll take swings at you. Although it seems like the wrench does the most damage to them. So if you're good at dodging, the best approach there is go up close and personal.
Maybe I just need to watch
And
a let's play of someone that's filled with energy so I can get through to what made this game
yeah,
so famous, cuz I do understand. Again, put yourself in 1999. This game clearly stands above a lot of the time and it's super unique. Just
absolutely.
couldn't get past just I'm not into it. Colin, I got to fail it.
Ah, that's too bad.
It's too bad. I'm super disappointed.
Yeah, I also heard at one point in the game, if you don't have a certain skill up to a certain level, I think it was hacking, you can't progress. So I think
Oh, how fun. That was something
turned
I
a
was
lot of
not
people
putting
off.
anything into.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Good to know that if I continued to play in the game, I wouldn't have been able to progress. Awesome. What a good thing to know.
Yeah, thing is, that's really late in the game, so I can only imagine how many people got super pissed off at that.
Ugh, bummer. What a bummer.
Yeah.
I think I will
Although I
watch a
noticed,
Let's Play and see what ends up happening.
yeah, I did kind of like the soundtrack, and I noticed that Ramin Djawadi was one of the composers for it. For those who don't know, he did the soundtracks for Iron Man and Pacific Rim, and he also did the main theme for Game of Thrones, so he's got a pretty prestigious record.
How about that?
But yeah, for the time, I'll give it a pass, but I probably won't really go very far into it unless my curiosity gets the better of me.
There you go. Well, I mean, it's marked as one of the greatest games of all times, so
Well, it's
maybe.
certainly one of the most influential.
Sure, absolutely, absolutely. Like, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I think System Shock 2 revolutionized its system, but Bioshock perfected it.
Let's get on to the second game you picked, Colin.
All right. Second game is Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance. Developed and published by Nintendo, released on Game Boy Advance in North America on November 18th, 2002, in the EU on November 22nd, 2002, in Australia on November 29th, 2002, in Japan on February 14th, 2003. Bit odd releasing this on Valentine's Day, but okay. Eh. I guess if you consider Samus a waifu, then okay. And in China on February 2nd, 2006. Bit surprising this came out in North America before Japan, but
yeah, I found that
it
interesting
happened.
as well.
I guess it's a little more. It appeals a little more to Western sensibilities than Japanese ones. Who knows?
Well,
And
it
I have,
came
in
out the
fact.
same day as Metroid Prime
Oh yeah,
worldwide.
yeah, I remember.
So maybe the idea in Japan was everyone gets Metroid Prime first, and then later they can move on to Fusion.
Yeah,
That was the
that.
big news of the time when it came out.
Yeah, there was actually a thing in Metroid Prime where if you used like the Game Boy Advance connector to the GameCube, you could actually unlock the fusion suit in Metroid Prime. So you could play the whole game wearing that. I thought that was kind of cool. I think you could also unlock the original Metroid game as well. But yeah. So the plot is as follows. Samus is exploring the planet SR388, which is the same planet where she enacted genocide of the entire Metroid species in
Good for
Metroid
her.
2. When she gets attacked by a creature called an X-parasite, which ends up infecting her central nervous system and her suit and threatens her life. Because as it turns out, the Metroids were the natural predators of X-parasites, and her eradicating them allowed their population to flourish. Whoops!
Oops.
Yeah. So from there, the Galactic Federation doctors save her by crafting a vaccine from the DNA of the baby Metroid that she took with her at the end of Metroid 2. And so she goes back to the space station she was operating from, but because the doctors had to remove her power suit in order to operate on her, and said suit had been infected by the X-parasite, the parasite is now serving as a doppelganger of her at her full power and is hunting her down. So she has to make her way through the station, fight other X-parasites in order to recover her abilities and stand a chance of fighting and killing her mimic. I mean, that's really where the horror aspect comes in, because every so often Samus will run into her mimic and be forced to flee, because fighting it at that point is literally suicide. And sometimes you'll see it wandering a hallway beneath you just to remind you it's still out there and still hunting you like a Terminator or a Xenomorph or Pyramid Head. Now, this is probably the first Metroid game prior to Other M that actually had Samus speak. She actually does have some dialogue. But not really a whole lot to say here. It's Super Metroid with a bit of a scare twist. There is some backtracking, as expected of a Metroid game, but it's not as obnoxious as with System Shock 2. And it's a bit of a short game. Likely won't take longer than 10 or 15 hours on your first playthrough, though it's apparently possible to beat in less than 3 hours, and you get a special image of Samus at the end of that, and that iconic blue sport bikini outfit.
I think you're overestimating how long it took, because it only took me about 6.
I can't remember how long it took me. I mean, I didn't have time to really play much of this.
Colin,
Actually, not I didn't play any of it.
get a load of this. I popped this game up on Saturday morning, and I beat it Saturday night.
Nice.
Yeah, I was addicted to this game. I beat it. My second game of the year I have completed.
Nice.
Or no, third, because I beat House of the Dead.
Yeah.
Well,
that was a pretty short one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. An easy one. Easy one to do.
But yeah, this was a really good game. I mean, like I said, basically Super Metroid, but it's every bit as good as that one, just with more story involved.
So I will go into why I absolutely adored this game.
Do tell.
So I've had this game for many years, Colin, and I think
I
plugged it in, and I only played it for maybe 30 minutes. I was like, hey, this is fun, but I played Zero Mission instead at the time, because I got them both at the same time.
Yeah.
This is technically Metroid 4, if you want to put a number to it. First Metroid game since Super Metroid, for all intents and purposes. And
in the continuity, I guess.
Yeah. What I loved about this was the emphasis on story. And it gave us Super Metroid in a more linear sense of the terms, because it was so focused on telling you a story. And I really, really enjoyed this difference in perspective to what a Metroid game could be. Now, I could see, and I've read, conflicting reviews that this is insulting to fans in the series for being so dialogue heavy and story focused, and it really took away what made Metroid feel like Metroid, with its open exploration, going around this world that you're put in any way that you kind of want to. But is that really what a Metroid game is outside? Here's an example. Super Metroid was based on the equipment you're gathering to progress through. This felt like you were being directed by the computer, which you absolutely were. The computer is giving you direction on where to go and how to go, and it even tells you this is the location you got to get there, but not how to get there. And that's the emphasis I'd like to put on, because I still felt like I was playing a Metroid game, right?
Yeah.
And I really liked this aspect. I got to learn more about the characters, learn more about the universe. We got more interaction with Samus as a character. Not everything is delved into just subtext constantly, so you have to kind of make your own story about it. I think this really gave us more to Samus and the Metroid universe than we were asking. And with so much information being focused on this X-Parasite, and how the X-Parasite caused scientists to develop the Metroid in the first place, or how dangerous the X-Parasite is and was. I love this. This was great. I loved the change in gameplay too. Like it's not all about Samus awkwardly jumping and wall jumping at times. It's now about grabbing ledges, which really changes up how you go about the game in the first place. And what I really loved was when the X-Parasite clone of Samus comes and has all of the upgrades you have from Super Metroid, your only advantage and difference is the fact that you can grab these ledges. Because this X-Parasite it fucks your shit up, and it really brings a sense of horror and dread to the situation, where you're always feeling like you're in retreat of this clone that's always after you. I really thought that was cool. The boss fights were really fun. I died a lot more in this Metroid compared to other ones, which usually isn't the case. So, Colin, I really enjoyed this. This was quite surprising. I didn't think I'd enjoy this nearly as much as I did. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, this gets an easy pass from me.
Now, I think there's one thing to say about an improvement to the game. Just one thing I could think of.
Okay.
Skip the dialogue and cutscenes, because if you've seen it once, then you don't need to see it again.
Fair enough, yeah.
Yeah, that's my only thing. I really liked the interaction with the computer. I loved the suit change, right? Samus has been infected with this X-parasite, and that's changed Samus from the inside out, basically, giving you a different appearance, almost uncomfortable at times, because the appearance is so different. I love that. There's so much attention to detail, and really making it feel like this is a different game you're playing. Really cool stuff. I love it when games try to think outside the box and turn things upside down. And I think it's interesting the fact that Prime came out at the same time with this first person, which still had a lot of the open exploration feel of a Metroid game. Guys, if you haven't played Fusion yet, you're a fan of Metroid games. This is a can't miss. I feel this game is fantastic.
Absolutely.
Did you have a favorite boss that you came across?
I honestly can't remember what the bosses were. I know I think Ridley was in there at one point.
Yeah, it's an X-parasite clone of Ridley, which I thought was real cool. It really sticks with the universe of this science base is in. Really, really cool stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the final boss being like this big, huge hulking thing, like the Omega Metroid, I think it was called.
Yeah, the Omega Metroid and the Parasite comes. So there was one review I was reading where the Parasite realizes its only way of survival is to try to beat the Omega Metroid, but then when it's easily defeated, it merges with Samus for its last-ditch effort of survival. So it's kind of parasitic instincts kicked in, and that's how it's. I was like, man, that's a cool little thing to kind of enemies become allies situation to a bigger enemy. Yeah. Yeah, I really like the ending boss sequence, and it has the countdown. Got to have the countdown. I did die twice.
Complete without it.
Yeah, I did die twice on the countdown, so that happened. The ship saves you at the end. Go out, has all the big dialogue sequence. Scientists are evil. Who knew? Yeah, easy pass. I got no qualms.
Definitely.
This was great. This was such a good game.
Hell yeah.
So you can, according to How Long to Beat, completionist can put this game about 8 hours, main story plus extra about 6, and that's kind of how long it took me to play. You can get this on the Game Boy Advance for about $30 plus minus, depending. So I think it's worth every penny of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What I really appreciated, Colin, just one last thought: the frequent save rooms.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a handheld game and it's put up, put down situation, the frequent save rooms really, really encourages kind of shorter play sessions, or at the very least, in case of short play sessions, because you're on the go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite like that. What does this have? What kind of reviews did this have? Metacritic 92 out of 100 currently. Nintendo Power, full 5 stars. GameSpot looks like the low one with an 8.6 out of 10. So there you go.
Yeah, I remember it getting pretty positive reviews way back when.
Yeah. Very much approved.
Hell yeah.
So I will do. Who is this? Kay's pick. The ghost pick from Kay. He chose Halo 2, developed by Bungie, published by Microsoft. Came out on the Xbox November 9th, 2004. We've reached this time of day. We're covering Halo 2,
Yeah.
Colin.
Yep.
It's another
We
case
covered
of...
Halo 1 before. And
We have.
was it the first episode?
Yes.
I wasn't even around for that one.
My God, many years ago at this point. Over 4 years ago, we covered Halo, and I haven't played a Halo since. So it almost feels like I'm playing the sucker in real time. Right? I never did fully complete the first Halo. I just never went back to it, didn't feel the need. So I'm like, all right, I guess here I go. Halo, here we come again. And I did something fun with this, okay?
Yes.
I was playing this, and then on my laptop, I had a Let's Play going on of someone playing the Master Chief Collection version, the upgraded one. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
So I probably got 5-6 hours into this game.
Oh, yeah.
Looking at how long to beat. Looks like it takes about 11 hours to play.
Ah, yeah. Yeah, I did play this one a few years ago. I mean, I even thought I still had my copy, but when I dug out the case from my closet, I have the case, but the disc is missing.
Oh, no.
So this time around, I was limited to watching YouTube videos.
What a debacle.
But I played it in co-op mode with my roommate back in college, and we had a fun time. Cut into our final study time, but it was still really fun.
So, the game is cheap, goes for about $5 or less. I'm sure you can find it for less. Honestly, it's one of the more popular games of its era.
Yeah.
So the story opens up, and I'm just going to read from Wikipedia here a little bit with a short little summary. So, opens up with the trial of a Covenant elite commander aboard the Covenant's mobile capital city, High Charity. I didn't get that, but okay. Basically, he's on trial for his failure to stop Halo's destruction at the end of the game. I figured that's what happened. You destroy the Halo.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
The elite is stripped of his rank, branded a heretic, and tortured. I thought that was cool. And in between these little cutscenes here, which I was not expecting, in all honesty, it cuts to Master Chief and his friends being kind of honored for his exploits of destroying Halo. So kind of two different aspects of pros and cons to what had happened. So I kind of like that little opening. Gives you a little bit more background on the bad guys, and you immediately start feeling sorry for this dude. And it kind of, so after the bells and whistles of funs and losses, it cuts to Master Chief, and he gets a new upgraded suit, and it kind of starts off the same exact way as the first one did, where you're on a ship, and people aliens are kind of invading it, and you go through the motion. So I was like, it's got to start the same way. Luckily, it doesn't last too long, and they fire Master Chief out into space on this bomb, and they're like, oh, what if you miss? I don't miss.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, good jock energy there. So he destroys the big ship, and he basically goes onto a planet, and then you go through essentially this open-esque world war zone of... You know what it felt like, Colin? This kind of took me for a loop here. It felt like I was playing kind of a Call of Duty-esque thing where you're in this level, okay? And it felt like I was playing something out of Call of Duty just in this Halo universe. Am I making sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Like online multiplayer type layout situation.
Yeah, and the various gameplay aspects, like the 2-weapon limit and waiting in cover to wait for your health to regenerate.
Yeah, and then if you die, you just
overshield.
Right, and then if you die, you just kind of get reset back to kind of a spawn point, and then you just kind of go forward again. You hit a checkpoint, and then the next little area comes, and so that first area really took me by surprise. I was like, I don't like this gameplay. So that didn't... It's just not my thing, right? I understand if people are really really high to. I believe it's called Metropolis. I believe that's how it's called. Very short missions, by the way.
Yeah.
It reminded me of the Hitman, the current Hitman game UIs, where it's you got your main menu and you can go through missions that way. So once you get out of that area, it goes into what I will call vehicle mode, where
Oh yeah.
where you're just going down what feels like a linear path in a vehicle and just destroying everyone in your path. So you're a tank on a bridge, you're on the hover bike, and you're just going back and forth destroying the enemies. It says like destroy these little tower things in a tunnel, and I'm just going down this tunnel. I'm like, this isn't doing it for me, Colin. I mean, it plays great. Don't get me wrong. Everything's very responsive.
Yeah.
I thought the graphics were very adequate for 2004. A little dark, a little plain at times, but adequate nonetheless. I'm watching the Let's Play of this dude playing at the Master Chief. I'm like, looks way better.
Yeah.
And then something hit me. There are frequent areas of just no music playing. So there's no sound happening.
Oh, yeah.
That was super weird. And I was informed and I looked up that this game was not technically finished upon release. It was finished enough.
Oh, really?
And those were those were kind of the things that weren't finished in the game. So things like music, I was like, okay. So all these kind of weird, nitpicky, notes in the music not filled out. It was because of the development was definitely rushed. Luckily for the game, all the gameplay was very tight and responsive. So the things that truly mattered for the game to be successful were all there. So it was just these weird aspects that I was noticing. And the last thing I played, really, and I didn't die too much, but I did die a little bit. I'm not the best at these sorts of games. I got on this big like mechanical spider thing, and I'm fighting on top of it, and I defeat all the things, and cutscene plays. I was like, okay, I got these other games to play still. I gotta beat Metroid Fusion. I'm definitely way more into that one. So I kind of stopped playing Halo 2 at that point. Not my favorite genre in the world. The gameplay was tight, but I think it relied too much on, to the point I was playing, relied too much on vehicle combat. So I wasn't I found myself not immersed as much as I was in the first game. But I will say, the story was definitely a lot more interesting because of the cutscenes and how it was trying to tell the story through that way. So I'm very 50-50 on it right now, Colin. I think I want to play more to see what happens.
Yeah.
Do you think I should play more?
The thing is, well, if you haven't seen The Flood yet, I think so.
I have not seen The Flood yet.
Because that's the thing. Up until through pretty much the first half of the game, there's not really a lot of horror in here. But just like the first Halo, the Flood doesn't appear until the second half. But when it doesn't until the very end. It can be pretty scary.
Yeah, when I got to the Flood part in the first game, that's when it like really roped me in.
Yeah.
It did get a little too repetitive, just constantly going around, if memory serves, that it's not a bunker, it's like this tower, I guess. I'm just going around in circles on this tower over and over again. Does that ring a bell?
Kinda. I just remember in the first Halo, you're going into like the bowels of the Halo itself, and then that's where you run into the Flood for the first time.
Oh, yes. That's what it is. You're right.
And
it comes across like a tower from the inside.
Yeah. And whenever you kill a Flood zombie, they release tiny Flood crabs that attack you.
Right. Yeah. So tell me what you thought over this Halo 2.
Well, it's definitely a lot of fun to play with a friend.
Sure.
In co-op mode. Because having one guy driving a tank while you're manning the big artillery gun, that's a hell of a lot of fun. And yeah, like you said, the game plays very responsive, very tight. I mean, sure, there are parts of it I'm not really big on, like the 2-weapon limit and the regenerating health. but maybe I'm just spoiled by modern day Doom.
Right.
But the firefights are still pretty fun, and enemy variety is very extensive with the Covenant and the Flood, of course. And I think the graphics are really good for the time. I mean, they're showing their age now, but for an Xbox game, it's still pretty good. And yeah, the story's a lot more comprehensive this time around compared to the first game. Although I feel like the flow of it was a little bit weird. Like at one point, you're dealing with this big Venus flytrap tentacle monster who's doing a lot of exposition, and then I don't know, the story just kind of seems to flow at one pace. There's no slowing down for dramatic effect to really put emphasis on certain things. Like if at one point Master Chief warps into what's supposed to be the sacred chamber where all the higher ups of the Covenant are, and then he just kind of shows up, says boo, and then it instantly goes into like firefight mode. I feel like if it just kind of slowly zoomed in on where Master Chief was supposed to show up as the teleporter activates, and then he shows up, then it would have had a little more punch to it. But maybe I'm just nitpicking.
I think this game was definitely made. I think this game was definitely made for multiplayer and co-op story mode.
Absolutely.
And that's where it didn't quite grab me enough. So I played it alone. Colin, you still there?
Pass.
You give it a pass. All right.
It's certainly adequate. Yeah, I gave it a pass.
All righty. Yeah, I think I'll give it a pass as well. I'm still not totally sold on the game quite yet at this point in time, but I'm definitely feeling like I should play more to get the full experience of Halo 2. So let's move on to our next game here, which is Joey's pick. And Colin, if I'm breaking up, I apologize. Discord has not been kind lately.
Yeah, I'm kind of hearing a little bit of roboting on your end.
Yeah. Okay, it's fine. At least our audio is going to be nice and clear for the audience. We'll do our best to continue with each other. The next game here is Alien Trilogy, picked by Joey, developed by Probe Entertainment, published by Acclaim. It is based on the movies of Alien. It came out on the PlayStation and Sega Saturn. I played the PlayStation version. Let me get the Alien Trilogy. Plays for about 7 hours. And the running price for it probably isn't worth it. Let's see how much it's worth. As my computer loads and loads and loads, it runs for about $4 in Europe and $12 in North America. So varying prices depending on where you live. So it came out in the spring of 1996 in North America, Europe, and Japan. But on the Saturn, it came out in the summer of 1996 in the various regions. Colin, I gotta say, this game kind of sucked.
Yeah, it was pretty boring. I watched like maybe an hour on YouTube, and I think I watched too long.
I can pretty much assure you that the gameplay does not change. So basically, it's got a cool neat little opening sequence of events where you're being called in to a spaceship that's being overrun by the alien menace, and you go in and it's first-person mode. It's 1996 graphics at its finest.
Yeah.
It almost plays closer to a Doom type game, even with the interface and the centered gun. You have a pistol, shotgun, flamethrower, various weapons. Big advice is be sparing with your
Yeah.
flamethrower ammo.
Yeah, I was having a lot of Duke Nukem 3D flashbacks watching this. I mean, did they use the same engine or something?
Yeah, I found myself questioning that as well. It's got some CGI cutscenes in there thrown in. So, the easiest way to describe this game is you're in a ship, everything looks the same, and you're going back and forth finding batteries in boxes as you shoot them. And you go to a door, insert the battery, and go on to the next section. Those are your levels. And it's rinse and repeat. Hard, hard, hard. There's face huggers that you got to shoot, and if you don't shoot them, they will jump on you. It will come across the screen on you, and then they fall off and die. Luckily, you don't get impregnated with the alien menace, but they do a lot of damage to you over time. And then there's the alien xenomorphs themselves that kind of run in this zigzag formation, very much kind of like a Doom enemy would. A little bit more animation here. And you shoot them with your shotgun. The pistol basically does nothing. You have to have a shotgun to kill these things. Go anywhere from 3 to 6 hits depending. And they go down. Probably the only thing of note in the game afterwards as you go around is the corpses stay there. So they're not constantly respawning enemies. So I did like that. But if you walk over them, they will do damage to you because of their corpse acid that's left behind. So I thought that was a neat little touch. So you have to kind of be careful running around. But as for everything else in the game, that's it. It's a quick, easy, bland game, I found. And I found myself dying quite a bit and didn't really want to play more than what I did. So unfortunately, it gets a fail. How's that for an easy review?
Yeah, really. Yeah, the environments are very, very samey. I mean, I'd have a hard time keeping my bearings in this one. I mean, I will admit it kind of creates a good claustrophobic feel, which is par for the course in the Alien franchise. But aside from that, it was the same thing every mission. Just go into the map, kill everything that moves, explode barrels to create new pathways, rinse and repeat. And the enemies are always the same: facehuggers, xenomorphs, and the occasional soldier that shoots at you. But yeah, it's everything else is pretty much just as you said. It's a fail.
It's a fail. All right, so let's get on to my pick now, as it seems like my internet is not being kind to me, or at least Discord. So let's see what we can do here. Parasite Eve II was my pick. As everyone knows, I am a big fan of the Parasite Eve series, especially the first game. Probably one of my favorite protagonists out there in Aya Brea. I'm a big fan of her. I like her design. So what is Parasite Eve 2? Well, it's developed and published by Square, everyone's favorite company. Released in winter of 1999, came out in Europe in 2000. Basically a year later, or 8 months later at the very least. Colin, let me get your thoughts before I go into detail of this game.
Well, I do remember playing some of the first game for Musenspiel back when that was a thing we did. But yeah, I played all the way through the first level of it. I mean, this time around it feels less like an action RPG and more like a straight up Resident Evil shooter. But aside from that, pretty true to the original way of doing things. It took me about an hour to get through the first level, although I was fighting my Vita's analog stick drift a bit. I have to get some compressed air to blow the dust off that thing, it looks like. But overall, I like it. I mean, the graphics are really good. The gameplay is fairly tight. I mean, you lock onto enemies with the square button and then fire your gun with the right trigger. And if you have like a flashlight mounted on your gun, you can use the left trigger to blind enemies with it. And then you also have access to some offensive magic spells, which comes as a result of the events of the first game. because Aya is a fairly special individual as far as the plot is concerned, and involving the neo-mitochondria creatures. And I kind of like the final boss of the first level. You were fighting like this big mutant super soldier guy who's coming after you with a big flaming sword.
Golem number 9 with Skull's gunblade.
Yeah.
Very, very comical.
Yeah, and you're fighting just below a heliport platform. As you're backing away from the enemy, you can also aim at like a high voltage cable that's right next to the guy. So if he's standing right next to it and you shoot it, the live wire will hit him and cause a lot of damage. I thought that was kind of a cool way of doing things. And then, but one thing I didn't like, there was a lot of backtracking involved. Is you got to visit like that surveillance room at least twice in order to advance. But it's a fairly open-ended area, because at one point you can actually get a grenade launcher by collecting a certain key from somewhere and going back to the surveillance room to make the fountain stop flowing make the fountain stop spraying its water so that the thing drains and you can get it from a dead soldier, because that's the whole premise of the first level. A SWAT team went in to take care of a neo-mitochondria creature, or a whole whack load of them, and they got fucking slaughtered. And then, yeah, I mean, I enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know if I'd continue playing it just yet. I kind of want to play the first game before I do so, but it was decent. I give it a pass.
Oh, I'm happy to hear that. So the game runs about 15 hours, give or take how much you streamline the story. Okay, it's a very expensive hard copy game. It's like $50 these days, but if you can find a digital copy on the PlayStation Store, $6, very much worth the price, I feel.
Yeah, I played it on my Vita, like I said.
This is where I played it as well. I also have it on my PS3 downloaded there. So I have numerous ways to play Parasite Eve II. So I've played up to a point in this game. I can't even remember how many times. I actually got this game before I ever played Parasite Eve 1, because I remember reading a magazine, PlayStation Underground magazine, and I saw kind of the graphics. I saw the main character. I think I remember seeing a commercial on TV of one of the cutscenes, and I was just enamored with what this game could have been, right? And I always seem to play through the Nevada desert area and a little bit into the mechanical kind of underground science facility, right? But I always seem to stop at that point. I asked myself as I was playing it this time around, why is that, right? And I finally got to a cool botanical garden area, and there's a I won't spoil too much of this because I haven't looked into what happens later, but there is a character you meet that is a big kind of plot point. So I did research on this game, Colin, because I'm very much a fan of this series, and I am going to finish this game. That is going to happen in 2021 here. I must do it.
Okay.
So my research, I found out, like, why did they go about this game the way they did? Okay, because the first game was mostly an RPG with survival horror elements, right? And that made it really cool, especially with changing up and upgrading weapons and how you go about the enemies. Has a more top-down kind of look to it. This is the first game, mind you. A very cool antagonist, enemy, villain, with excellent kind of side characters in it. And then you play Parasite Eve II, and it's got this sick CGI intro. It shows Aya walking, and the cinematic camera is following her. Just really cool things that you've really never seen before, especially for 1999. and you go into this big tower. Really gives you a more action feel to what this game is, because when you go through that tower, you're in, right? Now I felt
Yeah.
in. You get that sick cutscene of the woman transforming into this new humanoid mitochondria creature. I'm like, yes, I am all in on this game. That was cool as fuck. And this, you mentioned that it feels more like a Resident Evil game.
Yeah.
Well, this game, upon the first game's finishing point, people at Square immediately threw another team together and started on a spin-off game. Okay?
Oh yeah.
It was supposed to be the main the police character that the dude, right? Dude man number 1 that you meet in the desert. He was supposed to be the main character, and Aya wasn't supposed to be in this at all, right?
Oh.
And it was written and directed by Kenichi Iwao, who wrote the first Resident Evil game.
Oh.
So that
interesting.
is the answer why the game was made the way it was and presented the way it was, right?
Huh.
Much like a
Interesting.
survival horror game of its time, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Also, the art director was a totally different person, and so was the musical number, because the music in this game is very forgettable, not unlike the first game. Okay?
Yeah.
About halfway through the game's development, the art director quit, and the original Parasite Eve art director came, and this is around the time also where they decided to make this a true sequel instead of a spin-off game. So they kind of rewrote a good chunk of the story, threw Aya in there, and that's why this game is all about your main character, and the side characters are very forgettable, and they just kind of exist, right? They don't really have any bearing to the story at all. So upon learning that, I kind of started to play the game in a very much different manner and perspective. So I was like, okay, if this wasn't meant to be Parasite Eve 2, and Aya wasn't meant to be in it at all, and now they just changed all these things, I started to kind of give more leeway in how I looked at the game itself. And the tank controls do exist in this game, and I think they work because it's presented as a Resident Evil game. The issue I have is with the combat because of the tank controls and this camera's perspective. The enemies are too fast, and there's no way to react, so you have to find areas where you can kind of get a good camera angle where enemies won't clock you from off screen, right? Because of how fast they move. That's my biggest issue with the game. The backtracking really reminds me of kind of Code Veronica in the way the game plays. Maybe they could have really not done with so much backtracking for this game in particular. I kind of understand why they did it, because yes, it is very much Resident Evil with the puzzles that are in this game, the gameplay and whatnot. So I'm like, okay, I'll be lenient in my more harsh criticism of what's going on here. As much as the gameplay itself kind of aggravated me at times, especially in the desert with these camel creatures that are freaky looking. They have a charge attack, and that's where I'm like, ugh, god damn it. The only RPG system that's really in it this time around is just kind of upgrading your health and magic points so you can do these new psychic attacks like pyrokinesis and whatnot. So that does exist in the game. It is there, but it's not as prevalent as the first one. Okay?
Yeah.
So the backtracking and the way the story progresses, I think, is where this game kind of loses a lot of people. And as I'm going through this desert again for fucking, let's call it the 50th time, I'm like, man, I'm just not engaged enough, right? I still like the game, but I don't love the game. But I don't hate the game, but I don't think it's bad. Like, it's like just above that average point with me. And I'm like, man, if this was actually put into being a sequel from the start, what could have been? Could the gameplay have been more engaging? Could going around the desert not feel as boring and tedious? could going through this botanical garden have more stakes to it and really get me involved with more story. Really wish these side characters were a bit more deeper, because this feels like a side game. It doesn't feel like a true sequel, and that's where it just loses me. I'm still going to finish it. I'm still curious to see what this botanical garden area has, what this new character that's introduced, what her role is going to be. I think it has major implications. I'm barely going to pass this game as a Parasite Eve fan. Parasite Evil. There you go. That's what it should be called, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't give it true praise that I want to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah. And that's how I feel about it. There you go.
Yeah, I'll give it a soft pass too.
Yeah, our soft pass score it is. So I don't think it's worth $50. Really don't. I think it does a lot of things well, just not good enough in everything else that makes it apart. So yeah, big soft pass there. So our 5 games were System Shock 2 on the PC, Metroid Fusion on the Game Boy Advance, Halo 2 on the Xbox, Alien Trilogy on the PlayStation, Parasite Eve II on the PlayStation. Colin, favorite, least favorite, and your tier scores.
Okay. Favorite, probably Metroid Fusion. And least favorite, definitely Alien Trilogy.
Yeah, I think we'll be similar there.
For tiers, for System Shock 2, just because it was so revolutionary for the time, I'll give it a B. And Metroid Fusion, I'll give an S. Alien Trilogy, D. Halo 2, B. And Parasite Eve II, C.
Colin, I'm in agreement on favorite, least favorite, Metroid Fusion, favorite, Alien Trilogy, least. As for the tier scores, I'm going to mimic you in everything except System Shock 2. I'm giving that a C.
Fair enough.
So I wonder... you know what? I think for the overall one, I'm going to agree with you with the kind of revolutionary aspect to it. We'll just make that a B. Metroid Fusion S, Halo 2 B, Alien Trilogy D, and Parasite Eve 2 a C. So very much the same. We're of similar mindsets on all these games, which I think is totally fair. I want to like Parasite Eve 2 more. I really do, because I still am very much into kind of the universe of it all. Just wish the game was a little better in a lot of aspects.
Yeah, I can kind of identify with that. I have kind of similar thoughts with Bravely Default. That's a game I want to like more than I do.
Right. Doesn't make it a bad game by any means, of course.
Yeah.
So our next theme in episode 88, I think we're getting K on the next episode, because he has the next theme pick called Monster Collector Games.
All right.
That's going to be certainly something. And he made a preference to not be Pokemon or Digimon. So they're all Monster Collector games that aren't those two. Which made it kind of difficult thinking of these things, but they do exist nonetheless.
All right.
Colin, see you next time.
Bye now.